Welcome back to Kaely Daily. Today's question is, how is a placenta delivered?
This is Kaely Daily, the bi-weekly podcast about all things doula tips and tits, where we answer one question about pregnancy, labor, postpartum, or lactation in order to have your journey in this parenting world be just a little bit more informed and filled with consent.
Hello and welcome back. I am Kaely Harrod, your host of Kaely Daily Doula Tips and Tits, with all sorts of questions and answers about pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and lactation. Today is another episode about placentas. So the question today is, how are placentas delivered? And there are a few answers to this. So I'm going to start with vaginal delivery and then talk about cesarean just a tiny bit. So in vaginal delivery, there are two typical manners in which a placenta is delivered. One is called active management, and the other is called expectant waiting. Now, in my experience, active management is more commonly used in a hospital setting. Almost all hospital births have active management, and then expectant waiting is more of a scenario in out of hospital birth. Although I have seen it in hospital birth, it has been primarily when a client of mine has specifically requested it and not been the default of the providers that in the hospital setting, for a variety of reasons, that's not what this episode's about. So I want to explain the differences between the two. So active management is where usually Pitocin, so that's the medication, that's the synthetic form of oxytocin. So that is administered either through the IV or in an intramuscular injection, so typically given in the thigh. And that is administered immediately after birth, along with fundal massage. Now, what fundal massage is let's say your uterus is like coming down. It wouldn't be the size of a fist yet. The fundal massage is pushing into your abdomen and feeling the top of the uterus. So it's pretty firm massage into your abdomen and then like rubbing the top of the uterus. So that's called fundal massage. And then the third piece of it is traction on the cord externally. Now, traction on the cord externally means gentle tugging on the external cord to help the release of the placenta. Now, there are some risks associated with this. One is that tugging specifically can sever the cord if it's done too aggressively. It can also sever the cord if you have a marginal cord insertion, meaning that your cord inserts to the very edge of your placenta. And it can cause a partial separation where part of the placenta has detached, but the other part has not. And it can cause an inverted uterus if the tugging is too firm and the uterus, the placenta won't detach from the wall of the uterus. So I have seen all three of those complications. So as a doula, I educate about this a lot, because I've seen them happen, right? And so it's important to me that people know their options and the risks and benefits around it. Now, Pitocin itself has been proven to do a lot in terms of mitigate postpartum hemorrhage. So some hospital providers will do the Pitocin and the fundal massage without the traction on the cord, or they'll only do traction on the cord when they already see that the placenta has detached and is just inside the vaginal canal waiting to be pulled out. Okay, so then it's not really traction as much as it's just helping ease it out of the vagina. Now, expectant waiting is just what it sounds like. You're literally just waiting expectantly for the placenta to be born. But I think it's helpful to know that it's not that expectant waiting is passive, right? Because still, in an expectant waiting situation, the provider is watching for excessive bleeding. They have the tools needed to mitigate that, right? They have the ability to do like Pitocin and fundal massage and traction on the cord and all of that if it's necessary. But if it is not necessary, then it's avoided. Okay, so those are the two main ways. Now, That's if a normal delivery occurs. This is not the question for today, but I will add this question that how quickly after birth does a placenta be delivered? And I'll say it's anywhere from in the moment of birth when a baby's born, like still in their amniotic sac, to up to 2 hours later. Now, most hospitals really want a placenta to be out by about 30 minutes. So again, that patience of waiting 2 hours is usually in an out of hospital situation. And even that is not all that common. Many placentas are born within 20 or 30 minutes, are delivered within 20 or 30 minutes of the baby being born. And so in most cases, you don't have a 2-hour delay like that. But hospitals tend to get a little antsy around half an hour. So in a complicated placenta delivery, so let's say placenta is retained, okay, where placenta isn't coming out well or isn't being delivered at all, then something called a manual removal is done if you are having a vaginal delivery. And that is where the provider literally removes the placenta with their arm, like inside of your body, which is not particularly pleasant. That does not happen all that often. When it does happen, you run the risk of some placental retention and some placental products being left over. So oftentimes they'll ask that you come back for an ultrasound just to be sure that the entire placenta was removed in a situation of manual removal. Now, if you have a C-section, the placenta is removed as a part of the C-section itself. So it's not something that you deliver later. You don't have to do the work of like pushing or traction or any of that. It is all part of the process of the cesarean section. Okay. So that is today's information. We have a few more episodes on placentas, at least planned. So you should hear a few more things about placentas, including a chat with a friend of mine who is a placenta encapsulation specialist. And I just want to remind you that this information is always for information and education and entertainment, not medical advice, because I am not your medical provider. And also my desire in these episodes is to leave you just a little bit more informed so that you can have educated, consent-filled births and therefore have a more satisfying experience, both in birth, but also in postpartum. And so I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what questions you have so that I can answer your questions directly. Instagram is the easiest way to do that. So hop on over there, send me a message, let me know what questions you have. Or subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment here on whatever platform you're watching this on. Subscribe and like if you're on YouTube. And then communicate with me that way so that I can see what would be helpful to you, what information you'd like to hear about in these episodes. So until the next episode, I wish you wonderfully educated, consent-filled births. Bye.
Edited and produced by Kaely Harrod, as I'm sure you can probably tell. And our amazing music is credited in the show notes as well. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, have wonderful and consent-filled births.